Captain Sarah Martinez stared out of the observation deck window at the planet below. It was beautiful, with swirling clouds and blue oceans, but there was something strange about it that made her uneasy. "Captain, we're ready to begin the descent," said the voice of the ship's AI. "Copy that, AI." "Begin the descent," Sarah replied. The ship shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Sarah gripped the arms of her chair tightly, her heart racing. This was the moment she had been training for her entire life. She had always dreamed of exploring the universe and discovering new worlds, and now she was finally doing it. The ship touched down on the surface of the planet with a soft thud. Sarah released a breath she didn't know she was holding and stood up. She looked around at her crew, Dr. William Chen, the ship's medical officer, engineer Lisa Cooper, who kept the ship running smoothly, and pilot Jack Davis, who had flown them safely through the atmosphere. "Okay, team, let's get to work," Sarah said. "We don't know what we're dealing with here, so we need to be careful." The crew donned their spacesuits and stepped out of the ship. The air was breathable, but they still had to take precautions in case of any unknown pathogens or toxins. The surface of the planet was rocky and barren, with no signs of life. Sarah led the way, her helmet's built-in flashlight illuminating the ground ahead of her. They walked for what felt like hours, taking samples of the soil and rock formations. Suddenly, Dr. Chen stopped in his tracks. "Captain, look at this," he said, holding up a rock. "This is a mineral that we've never seen before. It could be an indication of something much bigger." Sarah nodded. "Keep your eyes peeled, everyone. We might be onto something here." As they continued to explore, they stumbled upon a cave system. Sarah hesitated for a moment, but her curiosity got the better of her. "Let's check it out," she said. They entered the cave, their flashlights illuminating the way. It was dark and damp, with stalactites and stalagmites jutting out of the ground and ceiling. Suddenly, Lisa's flashlight flickered and went out. "Damn it," she muttered, smacking the side of her helmet. "Stay here," Sarah said. "Jack and I will go ahead and scout out the area." They left Lisa and Dr. Chen behind and continued down the cave. The air grew colder as they went deeper, and Sarah's skin prickled with goosebumps. There was something off about this place, something that she couldn't quite put her finger on. They turned a corner and came face to face with a wall of glowing crystals. They were stunning, with hues of blue, green, and purple. Jack stepped closer to examine them. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath their feet. Sarah stumbled and fell to the ground, her helmet hitting the hard rock floor. She groaned and looked up to see Jack pinned under a boulder. "Jack," she shouted, running over to help him. He was unconscious, and blood was pooling around his head. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. This was bad, very bad. She managed to move the boulder off of him and checked his vitals. He was alive, but barely. She tapped her communication device. "Lisa, Dr. Chen, we need backup. Jack is injured." They arrived a few minutes later, and together they stabilized Jack and prepared him for transport back to the ship. Sarah stayed behind to continue exploring the cave system. There was something about those crystals that intrigued her. As Sarah explored deeper into the cave system, she found more and more evidence of something strange happening on the planet. There were signs of technology, and even some indications of life, though nothing that she could definitively identify. Despite the danger, Sarah's curiosity drove her forward. She felt compelled to uncover the secrets of this planet, even if it put her and her crew at risk. Days turned into weeks, and the crew made several more excursions to the surface and the caves. They found more strange minerals and evidence of technology, but nothing that could explain what was happening on the planet. As time passed, Sarah began to feel like they were being watched. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was observing them, tracking their movements. One night, Sarah and Lisa were on watch duty, monitoring the ship's systems. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a strange signal. "What is it?" Sarah asked, staring at the readout. "I don't know," Lisa replied, her brow furrowed. "It's not like anything we've seen before." As they continued to monitor the signal, they began to hear strange noises outside the ship. It sounded like footsteps, but they couldn't see anything in the darkness. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. Sarah and Lisa were thrown to the ground, their helmets clanging against the metal floor. They quickly got to their feet and rushed to the control room. "Captain, we're under attack," Dr. Chen shouted as they entered the room. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. This was it. This was what they had been afraid of. They were facing an unknown enemy on an alien planet, with no way to call for backup. "Get to your stations," Sarah shouted. "We need to defend this ship." The crew sprang into action, working frantically to repel the attack. Sarah fired the ship's weapons, trying to hit whatever was attacking them, but it was like trying to hit a moving target in the dark. Suddenly, the attack stopped as quickly as it had started. The ship was silent, and the crew looked at each other in confusion. "What the hell just happened?" Lisa asked. "I don't know," Sarah replied. "But we need to find out." They left the ship, cautiously looking around for any sign of their attackers. But there was nothing. The surface of the planet was eerily quiet, with no signs of life anywhere. As the crew tried to piece together what had just happened, Sarah's mind kept returning to the strange signal that they had detected just before the attack. What if it wasn't an attack at all? What if they had inadvertently stumbled upon something they weren't supposed to see? Sarah's thoughts were interrupted by a message from Dr. Chen, who had been reviewing the ship's sensor logs. "Captain, I think I might have found something," he said over the intercom. "The signal we picked up before the attack, it wasn't a weapon or a distress call. It was a message." "A message?" Sarah asked, intrigued. "Yes," Dr. Chen replied. "It was a warning, I think. Something about staying away from this planet and not interfering with what's happening here." Sarah's mind raced. What could be happening on this planet that would warrant such a warning? And who would be sending it? As they continued to review the data, they found something even more disturbing. The attack on their ship had not been carried out by an alien race or some other enemy. It had been carried out by automated defenses set up to protect the planet's secrets. In other words, they had inadvertently stumbled upon a secret research facility, and the attack had been a warning to stay away. As the crew processed this new information, they realized the gravity of their situation. They had just inadvertently violated an alien civilization's sovereignty and possibly put the entire human race at risk. Sarah knew that they needed to make a difficult decision. Should they report what they had found and risk a possible intergalactic conflict, or keep their discovery a secret and hope that they could find a way to communicate with the planet's inhabitants and make amends? It was a decision that would shape the fate of humanity for years to come. They decided to return home. Over the next few days, the crew worked to repair the ship and gather as much information as they could about the planet. But the more they learned, the more questions they had. Finally, it was time to leave. The crew was exhausted and on edge, and they knew that they couldn't stay on the planet forever. As they lifted off the surface, Sarah looked out of the observation deck window one last time. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaving something important behind, something that could change the course of humanity forever. But for now, they had to return to Earth and report what they had found. They had to warn others of the potential dangers lurking in the universe, and they had to be prepared for whatever might come next. Thank you for listening.